Okay, great. So very lucky to be interviewing Jim Anderson, Dr. Jim Anderson from the University of Goldsmiths University here in London. And you're going to be presenting at our conference, Creativity in Arabic Language Teaching. Could I start, Jim, by just asking you to say what you feel the role of creativity in learning a language and perhaps in teaching a language is?
Yeah, sure. Well, creativity has always been seen as a valuable um, way of approaching language teaching. But I would say in the last 20 years, what I would call the post-communicative period, there's been a shift towards a greater emphasis on intercultural learning. And within that, issues of identity and creativity links very closely to that. Of course, we need to distinguish between teacher creativity and learner creativity. Teachers could be very creative without learners becoming creative. And so it's about, if you want to enable the latter, then it's about giving young people setting up the conditions for young people to be creative, recognizing and having faith in their agency and creativity. And that for many teachers is a big shift because it's different to the idea of the teacher in control of everything, and some teachers feel they're just not doing their job properly unless they're standing in front of a class talking at them. And so there are important teacher professional development aspects to be considered in developing this kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, do you think it's something that is focused on enough in initial teacher training courses, the kind of role of creativity?
Certainly at Goldsmiths, it plays a part, but of course, government frameworks and the reality in many of our schools acts as tend to act as a constraint against teachers, and this is one of the reasons I think teachers lose interest in teaching. Sure. Because they don't have that opportunity to unleash the potential of young people, and there's we've seen a diminution of emphasis on the arts generally, and creativity of course goes beyond the arts, but in the talk I'm going to be giving at the conference, we are looking at creativity through the arts, focusing in particular on the work of Ali Omar Elmes.
Okay, great. So can you tell us a little bit more about so your talk is called Word into Art. And what's the full title of it? Word into Art.
And the potential for Arabic learning. Yeah.
So can you give us a little bit of just a brief summary of what kind of things you're going to be talking about?
Yeah, sure. Well, firstly, I should say I've been working on a resource with three colleagues who are Arabic teachers and specialists in different ways. Luma Hamid, Reem Abdul Hadi, and Fatima Khaled. And together, we have developed a resource around the work of a UK-based artist, Ali Omar Elmes, originally from Libya, who is a friend of Fatima Khaled, actually. That's how it came about. And when we looked closely at his work and saw the big place that language plays within his artwork, with letter shapes and extracts of written Arabic from the literature over the centuries. It seemed just a wonderful opportunity to draw on that as a language learning resource. So we've looked at it in an intercultural way. So we've looked at the role that language plays in art in different cultures, but then focused very much on his work. And we have basically provided a range of activities. I should say the resources designed for students at Key Stage 4, Key Stage 5, but it would also be suitable for adult learners and even at university level. We've been told by people we've spoken to about this resource. So it's aimed at those levels. And there are a series of activities which enable the students to approach the work, to become familiar with it, to start to ask questions around it, and then to explore it in greater depth. Now, what we're doing here is cross-curricular language teaching. So we are giving equal weight to the art appreciation and creativity elements and to the language learning. And we'll be explaining all of that in the talk and the workshop. So it's this dual approach akin to content language integrated learning, CLIL, which you'll be familiar with, or cross-curricular learning. And we provide the scaffolding to enable students to work on these activities mainly through the target language, although there are some activities which involve input in one language and response in another. There's some translation activities, and in the creative outcomes that the students are working towards, so the third stage is creativity. They have the option to cross over languages, basically. So, and that fits with our multilingual digital storytelling work, which has always been bilingual. So students create their films with a voiceover in one language. So if their students here, the language might be Arabic, and then subtitles in English. That means the work can be shared across schools with students who have different languages and so on, and they can then comment on each other's work. So
that's very interesting. I'm particularly interested in this kind of plurilingual approach, this idea of, you know, mixing languages up. I mean, I think for such a long time there's been a sort of taboo about everything's got to be in one language, and I think the world isn't really like that, is it? I mean, we're constantly shifting between languages. So very much looking forward to the talk, Jim, and look forward to meeting you at the conference.
Great. That's okay.